Muscogee County School District. This is the year. Are you ready? This is the year we dream bigger, reach higher, and achieve more than ever before. This is the year our students unlock new skills, explore new ideas, and grow into leaders of tomorrow.
This is the year I learn how to read.
This is the year we celebrate success, one student, one classroom, one milestone at a time.
This is the year I attend middle school.
This is the year for teamwork, creativity, and discovering passions that last a lifetime.
This is the year we finally made it. We are seniors.
This is the year to help students believe in themselves and redefine what is possible.
This is the year I get to inspire and equip all my students to achieve unlimited potential.
This is the year to stand side by side, families, educators, and neighbors, lifting our students higher than ever before. Muscogee County School District, this is our year, and we are ready.
Raise your hands, let the spirit rise. The sky's not the limit, just a bigger prize. Muscogee County, this is our year. Hearts united, crystal clear. Believe in our schools, our students are flame. Together we rise, we're changing the game. Chalk on the board, ideas in flight. Every classroom glowing with a bright light. From the courts to the fields, the art to the stage. The passion of youth breaking every cage. Lift the banner, let it wave so high. This is our moment, no need to ask why. Muscogee County, this is our year. Hearts united, crystal clear. Believe in our schools, our students are flame. Together we rise, we're changing the game.
I like AI. That was good. So welcome to our regularly scheduled August 11 board work session. We've been through a first week of school, and the superintendent's going to wrap all that up. So I want to just say welcome back to everyone. If we have any principals, just wave. Doesn't look like it. Well, of course, we always welcome our director of the library, Mr. Alan Harkness, and our director of the museum, Marianne Rickner. Thank you for the partnership and all that you do. And we have this area next is our public agenda. We have one person signed up, Taria Jones. Are you here? Maybe she meant to schedule for next week, but I will go ahead and read our background rationale. All official meetings of the Board of Education shall be open to the press and the public. However, the board may meet in executive session. Speakers' remarks should be directed to the board and shall be limited to 5 minutes. Citizens are encouraged to address items on the board agenda or to initiate presentations of issues appropriate for school board consideration. If an individual desires to speak, they may contact the superintendent's office to be placed on the agenda. The board meeting or work session is not the appropriate place to address either criticism of particular employees or individual parent complaints when such complaints have not been first addressed to the attention of the appropriate administrator for resolution. Citizens are encouraged to follow our normal channels to address individual parent complaints and/or concerns and problems. So we will listen out for Ms. Jones for next week. So with that, we'll go into our Education Committee.
Dr. Smith?
Dr. Smith is going to brief us.
All right, I apologize. I did not get a board agenda to Ms. Jones in time to get it on the agenda, but we've been working on this PowerPoint for last several days. So I'm Tim Smith, Chief Academic Officer for the district. Going to walk through our Georgia Milestones results and then talk through our next steps based on those results for the school year. So we're going to start with our Georgia Milestones end of grade results, which is our 3rd through 8th grade assessments. So we've got our 2-year trend data for each of the areas. For 3rd grade ELA, I apologize, I can't see my screen. The numbers are too small. I'm going to change the view real quick. Yes. After we go through the results, we'll talk about the different students. Okay.
Normally, we can click on here and we have the documents on here. Am I missing the button? Okay, because we were both. Perfect. No worries. No worries. We got an email about it.
Has it been submitted since we've been here? Do we need to refresh? It's not on there at all?
We'll just send them to you. Yep. Thank you. All right, my apologies. All right, so 3rd grade ELA, we had 54.4% of our students reading on or above grade level. For ELA in 3rd grade, you see we had 6.3% of our students score distinguished, 18.3% proficient, 27.4% developing, and 48% beginning. 3rd grade math, 5.7% distinguished, 21.6% proficient, 42.1% developing, and 30.6% beginning. And we've got comparisons with the state as that data came in on Friday. So you see percent reading on grade level. We scored 54.4 in comparison with the state at 64.6. The state looks at the group in developing and above and proficient and above as well. So you see developing and above, we were 52% of our students versus the 63.1%. And then proficient and above, we were 24.6% versus the 34.9%. In math, we were 69.4 developing and above versus the 81.8, and then 27.3 proficient and above versus the 44.3. Moving to 4th grade ELA, we had 45.8% of our students reading on grade level or above, leaving the 54.2 scoring below. ELA, we had 8.9% distinguished, 18.2% proficient, 31.2 developing, and 41.7 beginning. In math, we had 10.5% distinguished, 19.6% proficient, 34 developing, and 35.9 beginning. Compared to the state, As far as reading on grade level or above, we had 45.8 versus the 56.9. Scoring developing and above, 58.3 versus the state at 68.9. Proficient and above, 27.1 versus 39.3. And then for math, developing and above, 64.1 versus 80.4, and proficient and above, 30.1 versus 49. Fifth grade, reading on grade level or above, we're at 62.1 as a district, 37.9 scoring below it in May. ELA, we had 6.3% distinguished, 25.7% proficient, 33.7 developing, and 54.4 beginning. For fifth grade math, 8.1% distinguished, 18.2 proficient, 30.5 developing, and 43.2 beginning. Fifth grade science, 9.8% distinguished, 22.6 proficient, 25.9 developing, and 41.7 beginning. And then compared to the state, reading on grade level or above, 62.1 for the district versus 71.3 for the state. Developing and above, 65.6 versus 75.7. And then proficient and above, 31.9 versus 43. For math, we had developing and above, 56.8 versus the state at 73.2. And proficient and above, 26.3 versus 42.6. And then science, developing and above, 58.3 versus the state 68.1, and then proficient and above 32.4 versus 43.8. Moving to sixth grade. For reading on grade level or above, we had 48.4% of our students, and then 51.6 reading below. ELA, 6.9% distinguished, 23.6% proficient, 24.8 developing, and 44.7 beginning. Math, 5.4% proficient, 13.6%, 5.4% distinguished, 13.6% proficient, 38.2 developing, and 42.8 beginning. And then compared to the state, reading on grade level or above, we had 48.4% versus the state at 59.5. Scoring developing and above are 55.3 versus the state's 66.7. And then proficient and above, 30.5 versus the state at 41.3. That's for ELA. And then for math, developing and above, we had 57.2% developing and above versus the state at 73.8. And then proficient and above, 19.1 versus 37.3. Seventh grade reading on grade level or above, we had 59.8%. Scoring below, we had 40.2. For ELA, scoring proficient or distinguished, we had 6.5%. Proficient, 23.2. Developing, 28.5. And beginning, 41.8. For math, seventh grade, distinguished 7.5%, 14.9 for proficient, 37.1 for beginning, and 37.1 for developing, and 40.6 for beginning. Looking at the state numbers, so reading on grade level or above, we scored 59.8% versus the state at 69.1. For ELA, developing and above, are 58.2 versus the state at 69.1. And then proficient and above are 29.7 versus the state at 40.7. For math, developing and above, we had 59.4% of the students versus 75.8, and then 22.4 proficient and above versus 40.1 for the state. Eighth grade reading on grade level or above, we had 59.8% above and 40.2% below. For ELA, we had 6.5% distinguished, 22.6% proficient, 38.1 developing, and 32.8 beginning. For math, 10% distinguished, 19.5% proficient, 35.8% developing, and then 34.6% beginning. Eighth grade science, we had 4% distinguished, 14.1 proficient, 26.9 developing, and 55.1 beginning. And then high school, eighth grade high school physical science, we had 29.9% distinguished, 40.2% proficient, 24.6% developing, and 5.3% beginning. And then eighth grade social studies, we had 5% distinguished, 19.8% proficient, 37.2 developing, and 38% beginning. So eighth grade, compared to the state, ELA, we had 59.8 versus 68.2 for the state for reading on grade level or above. ELA developing and above are 67.2 versus 74.1 for the state. Proficient and above, 29.1 versus 39.8 for the state. For the math, we had 65.4% developing and above versus the state at 79.3, and then 29.6% proficient and above versus 47% for the state. For science, we had 44.9% developing and above versus the state at 57.2, and then 18% proficient and above versus 28.8% for the state. High school physical science, we had 94.7% proficient developing and above versus the state at 79.3, and then 70.1% proficient and above versus the state at 57.3. Social studies, we had 62% developing and above versus the state at 73.2, and then 24.8 proficient and above versus 38.8. Moving on to high school results with the end of course. American Lit, we had 62, for the reading level on grade level or above, we had 62.8% of the students on grade level or above and 37.2 scoring below. For the American Lit results, we had 9.1% distinguished, 27.2% proficient, 32.7% developing, and 31% beginning. Algebra concepts and connections, we had 10.8% distinguished, 19.2 proficient, 33.2 developing, and 36.8 beginning. For biology, 8.6% distinguished, 25 proficient, 25.3 developing, and 41 beginning. In U.S. history, we had 1.5% distinguished, 20.1% proficient, 34.9% developing, and 43.4% beginning. One thing we do see with U.S. history is a lot of the stronger test takers and students are in the AP classes, which does impact the EOC results. In comparison with the state, American Lit for reading on grade level or above, we are at 62.8% versus the state at 67.3. Developing and above, we were at 69% versus the state at 74.2. And then proficient and above, we were at 36.4 versus the state at 40.4. For U.S. history, we scored 56.6% developing and above versus the state at 69.8. Proficient and above, we were 21.6 versus 38.6 for the state. For algebra concepts and connections, we scored 63.2% at developing and above versus the state at 73.5. And then proficient and above, we scored 30% versus the state at 44.9. And then biology, we had 59% scoring developing and above versus the state at 69.4. And 33.7 proficient and above versus 44.2. So year to year, the results are not what we want to see. What we did see as we were looking at the data is when we look at students grouped by cohort. So what I mean by that is when we look at students who were with us in third grade, and then how they did 3 years ago versus fourth grade 2 years ago, and then fifth grade last year, 62% of our elementary schools showed growth from within that band. For middle schools, same thing. 3 years ago, kids taking those tests in sixth grade versus 2 years ago, seventh grade to eighth grade last year, 100% of the middle schools showed growth from sixth grade to eighth grade. That's for reading performance. For ELA, we saw 72% of our elementary schools show growth from third to fifth grade. 85% of the middle schools showed growth from sixth to eighth grade in ELA. For math, we had 45% of elementary schools showing growth from third to fifth, and then 100% of the middle schools showing growth from sixth to eighth. So what we are seeing in the data is the longer we have students with us, and this has been the case for a number of years now, the better that they perform over time. So that's a bright spot that we wanted to highlight and keep in mind. A problem we continue to see since COVID is chronic absenteeism. Godot released some recent data, and for Muscogee County, we had 22.9% of our students that are identified as chronically absent, meaning they're missing at least 10% of the days of school. So for a student that's enrolled 180 days, that means they've missed at least 18 days of school, which is basically a month of school. We looked at we cross-referenced our absenteeism percentage against our distinguished proficient or developing in the beginning, and we saw in every tested category this trend. Our lowest percentage of chronic absenteeism is in the distinguished band. The second lowest is in proficient. The second highest is in developing, and the highest percentage of chronic absenteeism is in the beginning level. So what we know is we've got to get our kids to school so we can teach them and get them learning what we need them to learn. Next month, there will be a presentation on how we're going to address helping our attendance increase. So our leadership and instructional focuses for this school year, we are going to work on strengthening accountability. That's through formative assessments where we are tracking progress throughout the year and not wait until the end of a course to figure out how they've done. We want to strengthen that piece. Not that we haven't been doing that, but we need to put more emphasis on that. Classroom observations, getting out there and content specialists, teacher quality specialists, other leaders being out and seeing what's going on in the classroom for a couple reasons. One, to help schools with feedback, and also for us to see where we can help better support. And then building in feedback cycles. This past summer, school-specific data notebooks were introduced to the principals that we'll utilize from the district level and the school level for progress monitoring, to help with ongoing data reviews with the district leadership. We'll continue our work with the MCSD blueprint. We do see that when the blueprint is implemented in courses well, that we see better results there. So we want to continue that trend. We've got the structured literacy cohort. So we had cohort 1 and cohort 2 come in the last 2 years. This year we'll have cohort 3 coming in. That will bring in the rest of the elementary schools. That is a pre-K through 2nd grade focus on just foundational reading skills. We are seeing in other districts around the state as well that the districts focusing on that structured literacy piece are starting to see gains. And the purpose of the structured literacy is to build that foundation early so it impacts their learning as they go throughout their educational career. We also want to build out a 312 component as well for the structured literacy that would have a different focus, but still be focusing on how we continue to get kids learning to read and comprehending the academic piece for reading. On the board agenda tonight, under the finance item, there's a program called Writable that we are purchasing for all schools for 3rd through 10th grade students. That is a gap that we had. The writing piece has continued to be a weakness, and we wanted to find something that was aligned to the new standards and provided specific feedback to teachers and students, and also provides a recommendation on student writing to help students improve that piece. We'll continue to work on our math instructional plans that were developed by the state in every math classroom. Seeing trends across the state on that as well. The classrooms that implement those learning plans well are seeing better gains. And then using a Georgia numeracy project, again, something else that's been developed within the state. That is as an instructional intervention for students who are struggling with math instructional learning plans. Then we can use the numeracy project in K-12 for additional support. And we're using the 5E instructional framework for every science classroom. And then we're beginning a transition away from STAR reading to the Amira reading suite for pre-K through 8th. So Amira is it has a screener in there, which is what we use STAR for, but it has some other pieces that once they do the screener, there's additional resources and supports that will help struggling readers. So that's something that is, well, actually both programs have been endorsed by the state, but Amira is a more complete program. We will continue our work at Brewer Early Intervention Academy and its partner schools and supporting those families and those students. And then we've launched our first Bunton School of Excellence at MLK Junior Elementary, where we are focusing on how do we reach kids in poverty and remove the barriers. How do we remove the barriers so that they can learn like they need to, and we need them to. An update on where we are with our blueprint. The course builds within our blueprint. These are the ones we have completed. So you see we've got basically elementary is built out. So we have the ELA done for K-5 and math as well. We've got 5th grade science because that's a state tested course. And then for social studies and science and K-4, that content is integrated with the ELA and math course builds so that they can access it that way. Then we're also have pre-K course builds. For middle and high school, we've got ELA build out for 6th through 10th grade. We have American Lit as well as ILIT 45, which is the Tier 3 intervention for students needing that support in reading. And then for math, we've got 6th through 8th grade built, algebra concepts and connections for 8th grade and high school, advanced algebra concepts and connections, and then geometry concepts and connections. For social studies, we've completed 6th and 7th grade, and then Georgia studies for 8th grade, U.S. history, American government and civics, world history, and then personal finance and economics. And then for world languages, we have Spanish 1 completed. So our focuses for this year is to finish building biology, chemistry, 6th and 7th grade science, environmental science, forensics, human anatomy, and zoology. And then we're also building things into it for ESOL supports, and then tier 2 and 3 interventions for our MTSS framework. Mastery Connect assessments, and then we're adding a professional development hub within the blueprint, and then we'll just continue to vet and refine completed courses as we get feedback from classrooms and school leaders. Any questions?
I have a question. Go ahead, Ms. Chambers. Wait a minute. Okay, there we
Thank you so much, Dr. Smith, for that information. I just have a couple of questions. Explain to me again what the MCSD Blueprint course builds. Explain that to me again. I know we talked about it before, but explain that just a little bit.
So maybe a few years ago, a few years ago, Dr. Lewis tasked Division of Teacher Learning with creating a one-stop shop. So basically somewhere, a hub where teachers and school leaders could go to access what they need. We wanted to decrease lesson planning time. So it's more of lesson refinement. They can go in and the initial lesson plans are there and they can just adapt. So it doesn't take away all discretion. They can go in and make it their own, but the nuts and bolts are there. Ensure standards alignment, and then, so you've got the lesson plans, you've got assessments built in there. There's timelines, a number of resources for leaders to be able to see where classrooms should be during the year, and obviously that's a rough guesstimate because everyone's not going to be on the same place every day.
Right, so all of this is online, and it's like a blueprint that teachers can use as a resource to pull lesson plans and things of that nature, and it's aligned with the state curriculum.
Should use, and it gives them the pacing as to when they should be on a certain topic, so that, because we don't want we do not want to make sure our children go into a test not having seen some things. So it's all based on pacing and the resources that are associated with teaching that concept.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's a resource. Just looking at the scores, of course, in several areas it's less than last year. And what stands out to me is in the math area. So can you explain to me, are we doing something differently in math? Do we have a new curriculum? What are we doing in math? There's a 20-point difference where, of course, there's things we can do in reading and we should be doing, but the gap is smaller between the state score and our score.
Right, so we had a recent change with the math standards, and they had these math learning plans that the state built out. And so the test is tied to what's within those learning plans. And we struggle with buying with the learning plans, and so that's why we wanted to work on accountability piece and focus more on making sure that we're implementing the learning plans. There's learning curves that with any change.
So this is new as of last year? When did we start the learning plans?
2 years.
Last year was year 2.
Last year was year 2. Okay. And is this something we have to use?
No.
I mean, every district's got flexibility, but it's aligned to the assessment our kids are taking, and we want them to score well on those assessments. And what we're seeing, what we're hearing from districts that are using the plans that they're seeing some increases. So the data's telling us that's the direction we needed to go.
Okay. Just a couple more questions. Can we get information? I know you gave us the percentages and you sort of grouped in developing and above and proficiency and above. Can you give us some solid numbers on the number of students, and can you just email it to all of us, How many students do we have at the beginning level? How many students at each grade level do we have developing? How many students are actually proficient at each one? And then can we get some type of comparison on another school district that's our size with the similar makeup of students? And I'd like to see how they compare to the state, as well as what their absenteeism rate has to, do or compare with ours. Because I want to make sure, I know that absenteeism is a problem for us here at the district. And I just want to make sure that we're able to definitively say that is our issue, or either rule it out. And I think if we can compare a similar district and see what their absentee rate looks like, we can pinpoint that that may be our issue, and then we can work on that. This gives us, this is not the information we want to hear, but it does give us an opportunity to pinpoint where can we do better. And so if we look at this information, I'm a firm believer that one test doesn't tell the story.
Right.
But at the same time, we have to look at this one test and see where we can fill in our gaps. And so if we can do that comparison to another district that looks like ours, I think we can pinpoint where is our issue and where do we need to work on, what areas.
Right.
And,
No problem.
and physical science. Excellent job in physical science. What are we doing differently, or what are we doing in physical science? Because
You're referring
those
to the
were
eighth grade?
great.
The eighth grade?
Oh, yes, 8th grade. That was a very good, I mean, we exceeded the state, so that's one proof that we can do some things that may put us ahead of the state, or at least at the state's level.
Right, so
Even with that absenteeism.
Right, even with our absenteeism, yes.
So schools have done a good job of identifying the kids who are good candidates for that high school course in 8th grade. and
Okay.
it panned out
So it's a
results.
select group of
Those are
students.
different
Oh, okay.
kids. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Algebra, though, I looked at the scores in algebra. We seem to be closing that gap when it comes to algebra. There's only a 10% difference instead of that 20% gap that we see in mathematics at the lower level and moving into middle school. So when you guys come back next week and talk to us about what we're going to do to improve, can someone sort of look at that and see, are we using a different sort of approach to the algebra, because the scores show that they're better than how we did in basic mathematics.
We can share insights we have from algebra classrooms.
Okay, perfect. Okay, sounds good. I think, you mentioned, this is, I believe, my last question, but I won't promise. You mentioned results by cohorts, and you gave us some information, but I'm unsure on how to process that information. What constitutes growth from the cohort? If I'm looking at 3rd grade and 5th grade, I would hope there would be some growth because they're now 2 years older.
Right.
So what constitutes growth? Did they score in beginning perhaps in 3rd grade and now they're proficient and that means that's growth? Or
So-
did they just go up a few points, which would be inevitable because they're older?
Well, yes and no. So looked at percentage of students that were scoring proficient and distinguished in 3rd grade versus proficient and distinguished in 5th grade.
Okay.
There's a drop across the state when students go from 3rd grade to 4th grade, and then a jump back up. And then we've seen that historically.
Okay.
I say historically, it's been a number of years. Back when I was at Blanchard as a principal, we saw it then as well.
Okay.
But we won't necessarily see a percentage increase in that proficient distinguished because you're talking about testing different content.
Right.
So we do want to see an increase because if we're seeing an increase in that percentage of proficient and distinguished, we're doing something right in those gains. Because you could have that higher percentage in third grade, and, let's say I've got a very strong teacher in third grade, and then I've got 2 average teachers in fourth and fifth grade, my percentage is going to go down. So we want to see those increases in percentages as they go up in grade level. So that's really all I was looking at was proficient and distinguished in third versus proficient and distinguished in fourth or in fifth. And we're talking about same kids, whereas when we looked at those slides, we're talking apples and oranges because there's different
Apples and oranges,
groups.
I understand that, yeah. So any percentage would constitute a growth?
That's all that slide was saying.
That's all that slide was saying? Any percentage growth? Okay, sounds good. I'll look forward to next week. And like I said, when I started, I look at this as an opportunity for us to really pinpoint what do we need to be working on. Because to me, there were some distinct patterns that we could actually pick out in each grade level. So that gives us sort of a direction to move in. So I'm looking forward to next week on how we can sort of solidify the information we've been given and chart a course for success. So thank you.
Clarifying question.
Sure.
When you say next week, you want another presentation next week, or you just want to?
I'm sorry, I think Dr. Lewis might have said next month, maybe? Did you say next month? You said we were going to come up with a plan on how we were going to
address
work.
attendance.
Yes. Oh, to address attendance. Okay, when are we going to hear the plan on how we're going to increase the scores? Are we going to talk about that?
That was the focuses on those last few slides before the course build update. So those are going to be our areas of our plan of
And
work.
all of that was based off of those specific trends?
Yes.
Okay.
Not just those trends. We also had walkthrough information from our content specialists this past year as they've been in the classrooms and based on things they've seen as well.
Okay, I'll probably just schedule a meeting with you if that's okay. So I can pinpoint, I'll schedule a meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Tillery.
I just, I'm sure everybody's concerned and worried, but I just want to start off with saying I'm not blaming administration, students, teachers. I do believe everybody is trying their hardest for these students and to help them achieve their goals. But what I'm worried about is that we're putting more standards and more guidelines and more restrictions on these teachers and more requirements on these kids who are not even on grade level from last year. And then they come in this year. And I'm sure there's a reason, but why can't we simplify things? In science and social studies, those teachers are taught reading and math. And so the focus, they're learning content while they're learning to read. But the focus is just math and reading. Because if we can't get the kids, I'm not as worried about, soaring through these standardized tests and having these kids who can take tests. I'm worried about having kids who graduate who can succeed. That is my end game. And when there are that many in 8th grade who are not even close to being on grade level, I just think we have to shift our mind and our thinking to where it's important that these kids have the basics. That 45% that are not even, that are beginner level, we need to just do something where their science teacher and their math teacher are teaching reading. Instead of, because if they can't read, they cannot read to comprehend. So they're not going to do well in those classes. So every day they show up defeated. And it breaks my heart because the teacher's defeated, the student's defeated, the parents defeated. We've got to give them some opportunities to win. And I don't know what that looks like. I think especially in those younger grades, we can get creative and find ways. And it might be taking time away from a tablet where they have physical books in hands. Because I think a lot of times math is done in science and they do well because it's hands-on. It's not, that's a whole nother thing. But I do think more manipulatives, especially with younger kids, and then stop pushing more content on children who can't read and who can't do the basic math. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if that comes from a state level. But looking at these scores, these teachers this year are already at a disadvantage because they have got to teach 8th grade level to students who are on maybe a fifth grade. And if every student could graduate, and I know this is my little tagline, but with a fifth grade reading level, most printed material is at a fifth grade reading level. But if we cannot get them to fifth grade, I don't care what diploma they have in their hand, we have not done a service to them. And that's why I want to know, like, they may be below the state levels, but can they actually read? Like, are they able to read printed material? When they graduate, can they have a job? Can they provide for their family? That is where I'm most concerned, is I hate it about these standardized testings. I know they're important. I don't want to fail these students. And so that's where I guess I'm trying to say is when they're that low, like, what grade level are they actually on? Does that make sense?
So the reading level, there's some, on the slides, there's some Lexile scores that we can give you some information about what that means.
Yeah. It breaks my heart for these teachers that are getting all these students who are so far behind, and then we're like, well, not only do you have to make that up, but you have to teach them this for that, you know. And when was the last time, and I know this is I'm not trying to start a debate, but when was the last time we based reading classes and math classes on ability?
What you mean, on ability? You mean like Magda, that's
Talking about
opposed
like
to
a
the
total
general
class,
population?
Like, you
the
know,
whole
they
class?
use, you know, like for these kids who may or may not be able to read, why, I mean, you know, can we do something to where those kids are learning the basics of reading so that they're not just continuing to fall behind?
I think we got away from group A, B, C, and D.
I know, yeah.
We got away
But it's
from that.
not
It sounds
working.
like you're trying to
So
get
I'm
us
just
back
saying, we're
to.
gonna shake something up to get it to work.
Yeah, because when you do that, if you put the D group probably wouldn't even do anything. Excuse me, they probably wouldn't even work because of, hey, I'm in the D group, I'm in the
I can't
field.
hear you, I'm sorry.
The D group, it sounds to me that what we got away from a long time ago about grouping kids, because
Right.
when you group kids are locked in a group all the way through school, and they are doomed, they feel doomed because they're in the D group, A, B, C, when you have to do education. You have to do it all
Bluebird,
together.
Yellowbird,
You
yeah,
have to
all
do
of
all
that.
that.
But I'm
We-
just
we
saying
know-
kind of what we're doing with the new school.
We know
You know, like
that
we
these
grouped
kids are
those
way
kids in
behind.
a school to where they could get help for what they needed.
So I think what maybe Ms. Tillery is, well, let me just say this. The differentiated instruction, right, instead of grouping kids, which we can't do. The differentiated instruction brings something about how that's being applied or whatever the opportunities are for the teachers to differentiate instruction. Were you finished before I asked my question?
But we are doing it for this new school. We are grouping by reading level. We are grouping by ability level in order to help those who are suffering the greatest. And there is an opportunity to graduate and to move out and to move on, you know.
What new school are we doing that in? What are we doing?
Yeah, so
I mean, she
It
said,
is
she said
allowed because
we're
we're doing
grouping
it.
kids in like high group, low group,
Yeah.
the F group, the D group, the C group.
They're
oh, yeah,
not
no, I'm
doing
just
that.
saying for
How
a
we doing that?
temporary, like, we got to shake it up and figure out how to help these kids who are not,
Yeah.
they just have to graduate and be able to
Now, the system,
provide for themselves.
we
Well,
are
I
doing
think
what
so
we're doing
I
that.
think that, so we don't try to figure it out. Let's
Yeah.
give them an opportunity to bring back what it looks like, what the process is, about what you're doing about the concern.
I think
So
was
that
on
we
here.
won't make it up and not, and misspeak or something like that. So just bring that back. I don't know when. I don't know how much, if you're expecting more of this data to come down, to be released, you want to wait until all of it is released, whatever it is, just be prepared to bring it back to the board, the steps in the process and what it looks like, how we educate children today, and how we do all the differentiated instructions for those areas of deficiencies or beginning or whatever. That would help us so that we won't.
And the grade levels that the people who are beginning level that they're in 8th grade and in middle school, the their
Reading
ability.
grade level, the
Yeah.
ability, the level of their ability. Anything else? Another question?
Okay.
Because I was going to ask my question. I was
It's
just
my,
waiting on you.
yeah,
to
No,
finish.
I
my
think I-
hand
I
is
think
up
I'm
next.
I think you're finished, okay.
Mine's
So,
up next.
ma'am,
I thought mine was up next, my hand. but go ahead.
I was first,
Okay,
but I acquiesced.
okay. As board, I think that's pretty much what you do all the time, isn't it? But go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. So I was just gonna get down, because this is your committee, I was gonna let you close it out. Is that all right?
Okay.
Okay. So, you said coming up on the agenda is writable, and we've had some other initiatives. Is that replacing anything? Because and it's web-based, right? This Writable is another web-based program. And so we've had some other tools, some other web-based programming that help you focus on the writing, even in those different areas like math and social studies, focused on the reading and the writing. I can't call the name right now, but it allowed it identified what reading level they were on, and it gave them opportunities to write out the answer or take a quiz or whatever. Is this Writable replacing this previous or current is it replacing something, or are we adding on something else?
So right now, there's a gap with that, with the current resources that are in place. And schools are, for the last couple of years, have been buying. We've had some, there's a couple other programs schools have bought with their own funding, and we're getting requests from schools if we need something for writing.
Gotcha.
And so this is a district-wide, instead of them
Initiative.
having to find something and pay for it out of their funds, we're just providing it.
And it teaches them, it's going to teach them how to write. Are you going to tell us, is someone going to explain Writable, or are we just going to have an agenda item?
We can have someone explain Writable, no problem. We don't have slides for it, but Christine
We don't
can
need a
talk about
slide,
it.
we just need to know
She can come talk about it.
what Ms. Hull got it? He's finished, he's open up for questions. And so, not Ms. Hull, just sit, just have a seat right there on that side so you don't have to walk again until we finish asking all of our questions. But after he finishes this is because we're in this presentation, it's under the education. I think it'll be appropriate for her to go ahead and address that Writable, because it's gonna come up. It's on finance. Yeah, that's gonna come up. But that was my question. Is it overlapping something, but this is closing a gap? All right, thank you. Ms. Butler.
Oh, okay. I have, first I want to say about Nikki's concerns, which are, Nikki's concerns are legitimate. And what she's expressing is how we're going to do everything. But in terms of what the system already does to get people jobs, this system already has, we have Ms. Thomas of our career education, which I know we got to do. We have to do everything together. That's what I'm saying. So we work in career education and develop it that way. And as far as the academics, and you're talking about all the various grade levels within a classroom. So the system also has, it depends on how well we do it. I don't know how well we do these things, but what we are supposed to be doing is having personalized and differentiated instruction. And we are supposed to be able to, with those various grade levels, teachers are supposed to be able to, and some do it very well, some, and it also depends on what kind of supplementary material that the district has. I don't know what we have. I know we had that IDL, what is that, IDL, what was that? The thing that they, the math and the reading. ISL, yeah. So it just depends on how much other material that the teacher can supplement with to try to identify ways to personalize and to differentiate the instruction. And it depends on the teacher's ability and her skills in terms of technology. These kids like technology, and a lot of these supplementary instruction come through technology. So all of that is part of that. But we do everything at the same time. We don't separate kids anymore, because we found long ago that kids get locked in and they don't try to have poor concept perceptions of themselves. So we try to do it all. And like you said, it's a very, 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 very hard task for a teacher. Teachers work hard every day, and they're trying to do all this, what you see it, every day, That's what they're trying to do, and they work hard. But what you're saying is what we all on the board said, we want some direction in terms of what we can get better on to impact our kids' academics. And so I think somebody said that they're going to bring us some kind of plan or some kind of things at another time. I have two other questions. One is I didn't particularly like the star reading anyway. And so now we have the Amira reading. What's that like? Didn't you say that was going to be our screening test, or what's that going to be?
It has a screening component in it, and then there's adaptive activities that children can go in and work on based on those, as the results from the screen are the springboard for those activities.
Okay, so that's going to be our screening test is that going to be our screening test, like how we screened in the beginning and the middle? That's it?
Well, we're still using STAR this year. We're transitioning, so next year will be a full year of Amira.
Oh, okay. So, once again, Ms. Tillery, as he says, if we use this, he says as the kids take the test, there are, did you say activities on those grade levels for those kids, so we're still working it in at the same time. I don't know what class they use that in, where in the schedule that teachers can work that in, but that is a way where you can personalize the instruction and work on the grade level at the same time as you give kids the instruction that the state requires, that
Correct.
all kids have to take.
Correct, and currently STAR gives teachers results, but then they have to go in and decide what to do with the results, where Amira will help with that.
That's what, yes.
We
need to make it kind of easier too. And then one thing I did like the Starbucks test, because you give it to them today and tomorrow, you might have something totally different. That was for the STAR test. That was a problem I had with the STAR test. And the next thing is y'all explained the data notebooks before. I remember y'all. Tell me what that's like again.
So it's a collection point of a variety of pieces of data that schools are using to track progress.
Is it like, remember a long time ago, 10 years ago, you walked in every school, they had a data board. Time you walk in, it's not like that?
It's not like that anymore. Now it's all digital.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's all digital, all right. So, yeah, and see, once again, we got to have people who know how to go into data, and who's proficient, to go in and know how to read it and know how to apply it and know how to use it in that classroom. Yeah. So, and the third thing. That's true. I want to get back to that math that we're using. I think when Ms. Hull made that presentation, and y'all said that, they said we're going to look at it after 3 years. And Ms. Chambers was very concerned about the math scores. And we're supposed to look back at after 3 years to see if it's doing any good. My concern at that time, when they presented it 2 years ago, if our main priority was that it was just saving a lot of money. So at this point, when our scores, we got another year to look at it. Maybe we might do better this year. But at the next year, we need to be looking at if this state program, I know it costs money, is doing what we need for our students. Y'all said 3 years. This is the second year. But we need to analyze those curriculum. See, I've heard students, teachers complain about, it's all online, so they have to make copies. And some schools give a certain number of copies, And of course, some teachers run out, or sometimes the copy machine is not working. Schools have 2 or 3, but it's down in 2 places and up in 1. So when you're relying totally on copied stuff, you may have a problem. And so I think next year we need to seriously look at whether we need an official math program or math book or some kind of math series other than something we're putting online. And the way that the textbooks are written now, every time they make one, they have Georgia, California. They look at everybody's curriculum, and they put, if you want, they can, all your textbooks, they can do your curriculum. because they trying to sell books, you know, and so they study every state's curriculum to try to sell their books. So I think we need to look at that after the end of the 3 years, that we said that we were going to do. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Before you leave, Dr. Smith, I think I have one more question, and so does Ms. Tillery. And you don't have to answer this tonight, but if you could bring it back when you come up with the plan, resources for each school. Do we have someone who is looking at each school and saying, okay, at Brewer, they scored this in ELA, and here are the resources they're using, here are the gaps, and here's what we need to change. And then who is that person that's doing it? Is someone doing it for each individual school? We used to also meet, every grade level used to meet and go over the scores and find those trends for that particular school and then fill in the gaps. So when you bring back that information, can you tell us a little bit more about the logistics of how each school is handling, approaching the improvement? And then what resources are we using? Like, and when I say resources, not just what curriculum we're using for reading and math, I would like to know that, but also, I'm gonna date myself, but we used to have reading recovery, and that was a long time ago, but I do understand that there are certain schools that may have an extra academic coach, or they may have some part-time people that come in and work with those students that need reading. Where are those resources? And if you could give us that information, that would be good.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And I just wanted to clarify my request. And Ms. Buckner, I'm very familiar with iExcel and star reading and individualized learning plans. I used all of those programs when I taught. And I went through all the resources and I did it, and I know how they can work and how they can be used. But my concern that I was trying to bring to you is the almost 50% of students below grade level. How low? You know, that was my concern. And if they are extremely low, we got to shake it up. And so that is my concern, is just how low are those 50%, you know, because we gotta help those kids. We got to make sure that they can succeed when they graduate. So that was my biggest concern. It wasn't, you know, blaming anybody or anything like that. It's just, how do we help those who need the most help was my concern.
Any more questions?
Never mind.
Oh, yeah, she's with the writing. I forgot.
Good evening, Christine Hull, Executive Director of Curriculum Instruction, Pre-K through 12. Writable came out of a request, several requests from schools to find something that was aligned with the new state standards. So we went through the process this year of searching for something that we knew was vetted, research, and evidence-based, and that did have alignment with the new standards. We had schools using RightScore, No Red Ink, you know, Miss Susie's Basket of Fun Phonics. I mean, just all kinds of different programs that weren't necessarily calibrated, or we didn't know what they were giving us in terms of writing. So with Writable, it is connected to the HMH suite, which we have for elementary for Into Reading. And it is adaptable with any curriculum, but the good part about it is it already has preloaded assessments and prompts that mirror the skill sets that are needed on the GMAS. And so when a student responds to that prompt, Writable will take them through that crafting and drafting process all the way to the end draft of what it would look like for proficiency on the GMAS. And it gives them feedback in real time. So as soon as they hit the button, they get personalized feedback for continual improvement on what they have drafted. A teacher can also go in and put in his or her own prompts, sample prompts. We can do that as a district. We can preload it We can preload it with benchmark assessments. We can preload it with unit assessments, different types of writing prompts. We can do argumentative, opinion, narrative, whatever we need. We can decide that at the district level or at the school level or even down to the teacher level. They can also peer edit writing anonymously so that the teacher can go in and collect everyone's responses to those prompts, black out the students' names, shuffle the papers, so to speak, digitally, and then students can also do peer editing and revisions, because that is now how our fourth graders, seventh graders, those odd grade levels are going to be tested. It's no longer composing a piece of writing. It's going to be editing and proofreading an already done piece of writing. So Writable will help us to facilitate that. And that's it in a nutshell, but I can give you a demo so you can see what it actually looks like in the classroom. And I can give you the white pages that talk about how the program is set up. But we liked it because it was completely adaptable by the teacher. It is AI based, but the teacher can also take those AI suggestions out or turn them off, or can ramp them up depending on the need of the student. So it's highly personalized, but it can also maintain, it can be under the control of the teacher, the school, the grade level, however they decide to utilize it in the school. So we're piloting for 1 year. We're gonna see how we do, get our feedback from our schools and our teachers. We have some that are already using it with lots of great feedback from them, that they really like it. Of course, they showed it to all of their friends. And so that became the request, is we need something like this. Can we look at getting it? So that's what we're gonna do this year, is do that for everyone. It's also very low in terms of professional development because the program is very intuitive, but we will have some professional development built in, as well as feedback sessions and coaching sessions with the Writable all along the way. And it's grades 3 through 12, but we're only looking at grades 3 through 10 because those are our assessment years. And then 11th and 12th grade under the new standards become English electives, which they certainly they will still be writing, and many of those teachers will still have access to the platform if they need it. It also has advanced placement and international baccalaureate supports already built in, with assessments already built into the program. So it enhances what the teachers can do with AP Classroom.
So what were some of the programs that they were using in high school and middle school? I can't think of it right now.
So one of the ones that was really popular was RightScore. And the frustration with RightScore is that they had to send the student samples off, wait for them to be assessed, and then sent back to them. So it was a long lag time before they got any feedback or actual scores from RightScore. And that was what some of our schools had said. They liked it because they were able to at least get a score as many times as they wanted to submit, but they had to wait 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever that turnaround time was for that to be assessed. Whereas with Writable, they can get it right in the minute.
Seemed like it was another name, but it doesn't matter now. We have Writable.
There are several.
Writable, so yes.
Yeah,
And why this is important, if you look at our reading scores are significantly higher than the ELA scores in every grade. The difference is the Lexile determines their reading level. When they don't write or don't write like they're supposed to, that affects the ELA score. And we have several students who just don't write when they have the opportunity on the test, on the state test, don't write or write off topic, or just rewrite the prompt.
So you're saying they can read, but they may...
Well, we have kids still have challenged reading, but I'm saying our reading scores have continued to improve, as you saw up there, continue to improve. Again, that whole idea about the longer they're with us, the better they do. We have many more kids that can read. You're seeing us approaching 50, 60% reading on grade level.
Writing is
okay?
hard.
But when you get into the writing part, that's what affects adversely the ELA score. So I want to make sure there's that distinction.
The ELA score is not just reading,
Right.
is what I'm trying to ask.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That's important. To your point, we all are concerned about that. But let me just say, giving the idea about the whole idea of chronic absenteeism, there was a time before the pandemic hit where we were more like in the 14, 15, 16, still too high, but significantly less than when you're looking at 22.9. To put that in perspective, that's like 6,000 to 7,000 students are missing 18 or more days of school a year. You extrapolate that over their entire educational career, 18 days times 12, you start approaching a full year of school they've missed in their educational career. So we've got to start looking at that. That's why attendance, I can't make an empty chair learn. There's not, the best teacher I've got cannot teach an empty chair. They have got to be in school every day we possibly can be if they're not ill. That is just critically important. We're doing everything we possibly can. We got Ms. Florine Dawkins here, who has been a pioneer with the hygiene repository we have to try and take away some of the barriers that some of our children, and that's gone from being feminine hygiene products to including everything from soap and toothbrushes, whatever. We have the Spanos clothing bank, so we're trying to take away all the barriers. We've got communities and schools with many of our schools trying to make sure that they have the wraparound supports they need. We've got washers and dryers in some of our schools, many of our schools, frankly, to try and help with that. So there are a number of supports we're putting in place. We have the health care clinics in 3 of our schools. We have the mobile dental clinic. That is the #1 reason kids miss school nationally is the dental issue. So we're trying to address, no pun intended, the root cause of the dental issue. So we've got to continue doing these things, but at the end of the day, when we have a rainy day, we see attendance just drop off the cliff. We can't have that if we're going to improve these scores. When they do come to school, and I want to point out, people talk about shaking things up, Ms. Tillery. We talk about the Brewer project. It is shaking things up. I want to go back to what I said when they did the presentation before. It's important to recognize that the Brewer project was a pretty bold step. I took some arrows on that, and I'm fine with that because it's the right thing to do. Those children were coming in pretty low, but after 1 year, an average year's growth in Lexile gains is about 100 points. The average school-wide was 172 points. Now, keep in mind, because of where they came in, they're still low performing, but that's 1 year. Give them 3 years, we can get them to grade level. Then they can go to those partner schools. Well, we're doing that, and I want people to understand and hear that. That's happening. The Bunton Schools of Excellence is an initiative that we introduced here to try and work with those partner schools, because you've got to make sure that when you get those schools, where those students where they are coming out of Brewer, they have the supports they need to be effective going into MLK and J.D. Davis and Dorothy Height, which will then benefit. Again, it's not, you're not going to fix this overnight. We're talking about generational issues we're having to deal with. But when you do this work and move those kids in, then eventually into Eddie and Baker, and then on into Kendrick and Spencer and wherever they matriculate to, they're going to be better prepared. But it is not an overnight. But I will tell you this, it is working. But the same thing with the science of reading we did with the Rollins project. We're a big district. They can't train the entire district in doing that in 1 year. That's why we had to break it into 3 cohorts, so they could do about 10 to 12 schools a year. This will be our 3rd year of that Rollins work, and we will see, I have no doubt, I have every confidence in the world, over the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see some significant improvement in reading. But it still doesn't address what we got to do with the writing, but nothing will improve if kids aren't in the seats. And next month is, September is school attendance month, and this has got to be something, this has got to be a call to action. It's got to be something everybody recognizes that since the pandemic, and I don't want to use that as an excuse, but the reality of it is the ongoing and stubbornly high chronic absenteeism is affecting schools throughout the country. That's why Superintendent Woods is addressing it in Georgia. But our average is too high, 22.9. That's almost 1 in 4, as we talked about up here. We can and should do better, and we will do better, because that's what Columbus does. But it's going to take everybody. It's got to mean parents have got to get kids to school. It's going to take faith organizations. It's going to take everybody, boys, girls clubs, whatever it is, making sure we give this announcement and making sure people understand school is important. It is your first job. You start establishing your work habits right there. And the first thing is show up. I think every employer I know says if they do this, get people to show up to work on time. Talking about a win, that's a win. I think anybody who employs anybody would say that's important, and they've seen that drop off since the pandemic. So we've got to reassert ourselves in that, but we've got them 180 days. And when a child misses 10%, 18 days or more, it's hard for any teacher, because keep in mind, that kid's coming in and out of the classroom every day and slows down the progress of possibly others. It's not impossible. We can do this. We've got the teachers who are being trained to do this work and can do this work. And with the resources we have, there is no reason it can't be done, but they've got to be there. They absolutely have got to be in attendance every day possible. And so we accept our part of the responsibility, but you can see the longer they're with us, the better they do. And when you look at that reading level, it improves every grade level from third grade when they start being assessed all the way through. We can accelerate that, but through some of the various things we're doing with the Rollins work and with the Brewer and with the Button Schools of Excellence, but we've got to have everyone putting their shoulder to the wheel and pushing this rock up the hill together and get us all there. So
we need to
Okay,
work on
so-
it. Okay, me? Or you? Me or you? You
Go ahead. Okay. So I think that if we ramp up the messaging and fold in all of our partnerships about the chronic absenteeism, I think that would be a great effort.
Yep.
And when we get them back in school or coming to school regularly, with the information that you're going to bring back will help us as a board understand the part of our responsibility when they are in the chair, how we're going to address and make the progress that we're all concerned about and elaborating on.
Ms. Chambers, I've already looked at some of the districts like you're talking about that are comparable to us, like a Bibb, like a Richmond. So I know where we stand in this. I'm a competitive person too. And I know where we are. I'll be glad to share that with you, but I'm not satisfied with that. That's just, you're adjusting the mean lower. But we'll be glad to share that with you.
Now, the state, I thought, the state passed some laws where there will be penalties for parents about, but that didn't go through, they tried to, okay. That was one of the things.
That was a concern that people in the community were expressing about, hold the parents accountable, but, as the legislators, it gave very good examples of creating additional problems and
Okay,
issues.
so they did not, I know Alabama.
But we do have the Muscogee County Attendance Panel. Dr. Nelson is here, and her team works very diligently along with that to bring parents that need some assistance and support. Our first step is to try and provide the support to remove the barriers.
Right.
I mean, obviously. And that's where a lot of the things I just mentioned earlier came from. But at some point, there does have to be an insistence that this is important. It's about talking about the importance and value of education and how we've got to be there. And again, that I just go back to school is your first job when you're a child.
Yeah.
To the extent
Only
we
job.
can, to the extent we can, we need to work on absenteeism. But factors that we can't control, we need to keep working on the work. Ms. Hull, I want to ask you about that test. Did you say our new test, we were going to be, it's not going to be writing from a prompt, but we're going to be, is this a state test that the way that it's going to be administered is that the kids will be correcting errors and?
At certain grade levels.
Oh, at certain.
So at certain grade levels, like fourth grade, seventh grade, they will not be crafting
Fourth grade, seventh grade.
a response. They will be instead looking at an already crafted
Passage.
piece of work, piece
and
of writing, and then they will have to edit, proofread, comment, annotate. So it's a completely different set of skills. And so that's at a couple of different grade levels where they're not actually composing or constructing text, what they call constructing text. Instead, they're evaluating and analyzing text. And they're doing that almost like a peer evaluator or a proofreader might do, so it's tapping into a different set of skills. They're also going to be doing multimodal writing, so that's what we were looking for in a writing program as well, which means in a prompt, they might have a video, a PowerPoint, an article, and a graph, and they have to synthesize all four of those modes together to construct their response. And so Writable does support that. It supports those technology-enhanced items that allow them Teachers can insert the videos, they can pull videos that are already in. So it gives some flexibility because that's the new skill that they're going to be requiring on the state test, the state assessment.
And I would like to invite any board member, just let me know if you'd like to go visit a classroom. I know Ms. Frey and several of you have gone to visit classrooms. So if you'd like to go visit a classroom, just walk in to see how we're teaching reading or math or whatever. I would invite you to do that. It's important for you to see it rather than us just explain it. It's a lot better when you see it in person the way it's being.
Just a regular classroom?
The regular classroom. You call me and they won't know in advance because they're used to seeing us come to the classrooms on a regular basis anyway. But I think it'd be valuable for you to come and see that, and I invite that.
Yeah.
You have a question or you're ready to go next?
I have a comment, then I'm ready to go.
All right, Ms. Frey, then go ahead with your committee.
I just wanted to say that this is obviously a multifaceted issue, but talking about attendance in elementary schools, before I've had the pleasure to come on this board, I served on the attendance panel. And over 75% of the students who were in front of us and these were 20 plus absences already. And some of them we're seeing in early fall, and they were already up to, well into the teens of absences, are elementary students.
Yeah, that transition from daycare. At daycare, they just show up whenever they show up.
Elementary school students who are not responsible for getting themselves to school.
Right, that's right.
So they miss those foundational years, and then we're applying to catch up. Again, not the complete answer. I think all of these other things, I think we have to have a multi-layered approach. But again, and I'd love to participate on making sure that we get the word out. The students can learn if they're in the classroom.
Yeah, big girls.
Again, if you doubt that, just look at the distinguished, the proficient learners. You don't see large numbers of absences. I mean, it's just as clear as can be when you see the breakout, and the ones who need the most are the ones who are missing it. You miss out, you miss school, you miss out.
And even with that, now we keep saying that, even with that now, we gotta remember that these kids generally, the kids generally who we're talking about, they see no value in what we're doing. They don't come to school a lot of times because their parents or neither, they don't see how they can use what we're doing. So when they're in school, we gotta show them what we're doing is important. Now, because it's not just being in there, because sometimes they're in there. We have certain kids that come to school, they just love to come to be social. So they come to school. They're just not doing anything but cutting up, but I'm just saying. But when they come to school, kids who come in a home that doesn't, all parents love their kids, but there's a certain value that we have in education. And when you don't have that value in education, kids don't see what they're doing. They don't see why it's important, so aside from just coming to school, we have to form relationships with students, and gotta show them or tell them, try to teach them, just like that Brewer class down there. It's teaching that, it's showing them consistency, organization, but they gotta learn that kind of stuff too. When they get there, we gotta keep them. We gotta keep their attention, and we gotta make them think that it's important, that what they're gonna do, because they always say that in the classroom. In my classroom, what am I gonna do with this? I don't need this, so we gotta make them see that what we're doing is important.
Well, and the other thing I want to point out too is in every school in our district, we have proficient and distinguished learners. So it's not concentrated just in certain schools. We have bright kids in every school, and when they get the opportunity, they flourish. And I think that's important to recognize too. So, thank you.
We're done, Ms. Green, with the Education Committee.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holt and Dr. Smith.
Go on to our library report. Again, a wonderful report for the month of August. For work that happened in July. The awards will come out next month for those who participated in the summer reading program, participated with the Frank Chester Senior Picnic, but I thought it was really, really neat that there was a family from Eastern Europe that came to the library to start to get acclimated to the community and was excited about some things. But I have to, I would be remiss if I did not recognize our library director, who placed second in his age category in the Valley Healthcare 5K run on Saturday.
Woohoo! What's the matter, Alan? It was only two of y'all?
Well, there were 3 prizes, so there was 3.
That's cold.
And going on to our other wonderful partner, Mary Ann at the museum. Again, a record-breaking month of July for over 7,000 visitors. And just all kinds of things going on. And really, really interested and excited about the relaunch of the PALS program. I know that next month, I think, there's going to be a presentation to the board talking about the PALS program coming back to schools. But very exciting. Once again, the Columbus Museum was accredited. It's been accredited since 1972, and only 3% of the nation's 33,000 museums are accredited. So I think congratulations are in order. That's the end of my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Frey. Ms. Buckner?
I don't know whether Alan knows that Lori McRae, she, on her Facebook page, she always advertises the library, so in case you didn't know that.
All right. Ms. Sly, discipline.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are no items submitted for the Discipline Committee.
Thank you, Ms. Tillery.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have one policy, board training plan. By statute, the State Board of Education is required to adopt a training plan for members of local Board of Education and may periodically adopt revisions, such as training plan as it deems necessary. This agenda item is to meet the requirement of the law that the Muscogee County Board of Education adopt the training plan as established by the State Board of Education. And currently, it is policy on December 3rd, 2025, and the whole board training is a tentative for March 25th, 2026. Are there any questions? If not, I'll return it back to you, Madam Chair.
Is the December in Atlanta? I was just making sure that the December the 3rd was when we go to Atlanta. We're not doing it here, right? The policy training? Is that the okay, GSBA, okay.
Thank you so much. Personnel Committee. Superintendent is recommending Dr. Courtney Holmes to serve as Director of Special Ed. Nope, to serve as GNET's Director. Are there any questions? That's the Woodall program. None. All right. Item number 2.
Bless you.
Superintendent is recommending the approval of confidential conciliation agreement with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission to settle a matter of a former employee. That was discussed in executive session. All right, that will be next week. We'll be ready to vote there. The personnel report is the 3rd item. You will see the attachments for the vacancies, the new hires, the resignations, and the vacancies in the Operations and Facilities Division. Are there any questions? All right, Construction Committee, Mr. Ken, Ms. Buckner. Ms. Carter, welcome back.
Thank you, it's been a long time.
Yes. Welcome back, Carter.
Bit of funny. Thank you, Madam Chair. Moving on to the Construction Committee, H1 Resolution FY23 Capital Outlay. It has been determined that the funding source for the below-listed FY23 COP projects for school nutrition can change from East Blos to the school nutrition federal funding source, which does not allow for the capital outlay project reimbursement. The funding source change allows the school district to maximize the dollars spent on these projects and other future projects. Removed from the FY23 COP entitlement applications and restored entitlements, J.D. Davis, the cooler freezer, Phase 4, Georgetown, dishwasher, and Reese Road Elementary, the cooler freezer. After initiating the projects, it has been determined the scope of the actual project would not meet the requirements for the COP reimbursements and would be more advantageous to utilize COP funds for future projects. Removed from the FY23 COP entitlement applications and restored entitlements is Arnold Middle, re-roofing Phase 2, Brewer Elementary, renovation Phase 2, J.D. Davis, renovation Phase 2, and Hardaway High, renovations, and Key Elementary, renovations Phase 2. The superintendent's recommendation to approve the resolution to withdraw the FY23 COP project listed above. Any questions, ladies? If not, we'll move on to agenda. Okay, I'm sorry, Kia, go ahead.
Just want to clarify, so we are not using the eSplosh funds, and we are allowed to use nutritional funds to do capital projects? And then what is the advantage again? It says it would be advantageous, but what advantage do we have? Are we able to then get a reimbursement if we use it through the nutritional federal program?
Yes, ma'am. Jeff Battles, Director of Construction. So we found it more advantageous for the use of our dollars to use the federal money to pay for those projects, and not when we use the COP projects, we pay for it ourselves, and then they reimburse us a part of that. Okay. And we found it more advantageous to use the federal money for those programs than the COP, than go through the COP entitlement route.
Because
it was a better use of the total funds.
okay. Instead of a partial reimbursement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay, perfect. Okay. And that is allowable from the nutrition fund?
Yes, ma'am. Everybody's been signed off on. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. All right, sounds good. Thank you.
No other questions? Moving on to agenda item H2, Building Assessment, Winton Arts Academy. The construction department is requesting the approval of Heck Bertishaw Architectural Firm to access the building envelope at Winton Arts Academy for potential defects in the exterior walls. The firm will conduct the assessment and provide recommendations for appropriate construction solutions. Impact funding for the purchase not to exceed $35,000 will be expanded from the capital project function to the capital project fund East Blos. Superintendent's recommendation: approve Heck Bertishaw Architects to assess and make recommendations to rectify the potential defects in the exterior wall at Winton Arts Academy. Any questions, ladies? If not, we'll move to our next one, the agenda item H3, HVAC project delivery method. The heating, ventilation, and air conditioning equipment at Blackman Road Middle School and downtown elementary schools to be replaced as equipment has outlived its life expectancy. The typical life expectancy of HVAC equipment is 20 years. Most of the equipment at these two locations range from 30 to 31 years of age. The cooling tower at both locations was changed in 2025 due to imminent failure. The next step is to replace the remainder of the HVAC equipment. The construction department is requesting the board to approve a construction manager at risk. The construction department will advertise and receive bids from construction companies to implement the designed HVAC replacement at the above locations. The CM will work with the engineering company to provide additional expertise in the installation of the HVAC equipment. The superintendent recommends approved construction manager at risk as the delivery method for installing the remainder of the HVAC equipment at Blackman Road Middle School and Downtown Elementary. Any questions?
I do have a question.
Yes,
This
ma'am.
is just being proactive because it's at the end of its usefulness, or are they not working right now? Do they have heat, AC?
So these buildings were scheduled in our East Block replacement, so they do have AC. The cooling tower was replaced because of, the imminent failure on that, so that's already been replaced, and now it's time to actually replace all the other equipment. So it's just a scheduled event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions on it? Moving on to the agenda item H4, HVAC project engineering assignment. The heating, ventilation, air conditioning, HVAC equipment at Blackman Road, Downtown Elementary to be replaced as the equipment has outlived its life expectancy. The construction department is requesting the board to approve Peach Engineering to design the HVAC equipment and replacement at the above locations. The cost to be taken from the 2024 SPLOST was 6% of the construction budget. The superintendent's recommendation, award a contract to Peach Engineering to design the HVAC equipment replacement at Blackman Road and Downtown Elementary. Any questions, ladies? Moving on to H5, Rigdon Road HVAC project delivery. The chiller unit at Rigdon Road Elementary has experienced partial equipment failure, rendering the system in need of replacement. The construction department is requesting the board to approve a construction manager at risk. The construction department will advertise and receive bids from construction companies. The CM will work with the engineering company to provide additional expertise at the installation of the HVAC equipment. The superintendent's recommendation, approve the construction manager at risk delivery method for installing HVAC equipment at Rigdon Road Elementary. The last one, H6 construction status report, is a slideshow. Ladies, do y'all have any questions? For September, okay. Oh, this will be held at the September board meeting.
For the slideshow presentation.
Okay. That's all for the construction committee, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. All right, next, Dr. Chambers, Finance Committee.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Under the Finance Committee, number one are a list of the financial statements. The review of the district's financial statements is a part of the board's ongoing oversight of the financial activities of the school district. Presented for the board's review and approval are the following financial reports as of or for the period ending of June 2025. Number one is the financial statements. We get those every month. Number two is a list of our investment summaries to include our bonds. Number three is the East Block revenue. And number four are the capital project expenditure reports. If you notice, board members, it says preliminary. All of these are pending our year-end closeout. And when will that closeout be official?
We will have the audited financial statements in December.
Okay, and so we will vote on this again, the final in December?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so this is just a preliminary, so if you have any questions, let us know. Now is the time. Okay, hearing no questions, I'll go on to number two. This is a list of budget adjustments. If you look at 2A, we have the CTAE Extended Day Grant. This is from $11,338 coming from the general fund. This is additional allocation of budgeted funds that will be increased by the $11,338, and the grant total is attached. Any questions? Okay. B, C, and D are all CTAE. B is CTAE supervision grant. And this is a small amount, but they're asking for an additional $255. C is the CTAE industrial certification grant. This is an additional $15,000. And it is attached. Please stop me if you have any questions about either of these. And the last one for CTAE is the D, CTAE Perkins V program grant. And this is a reduction in our budget by $47,581. Okay, hearing no questions, I'll go on to E, which is our fiscal year 2025 pre-K summer transition. And this is actually a reallocation of the budget, so there's no change in the revenue. We're just changing where the money is coming from. Correct? Okay. All right, and moving down to another budget adjustment is F for the Feminine Hygiene Georgia Schools, and that's for $95. Okay. Small budget adjustments there. I'll move on to number 3. These are our new budgets. This is the Title I-A School Improvement Grant. That's for $825,000. And that is attached. This grant will fund a variety of salaries, benefits, and operational expenditures to support teaching and learning at state-determined schools for the fiscal year of 2026. Any questions about our new budgets? Okay, hearing none. Number 4 is a list of our competitively bid purchases. One is for linen cleaning, and the other is for gym floor refinishing. One is for $15,000, and B is for funds for the purchase not to exceed $90,000. And this is for refinishing several gym floors in the Muscogee County School District. Hearing no questions, I'll go on to number 5, which is purchase exception A and B. In accordance with our board policy, the superintendent is recommending that we approve the following. One is Lexia, which is a web-based subscription. And this is a funding purchase not to exceed $55,000. This is an additional expenditure, so the total for 2026 is actually $319,285. Okay. B is for our IB programs. This includes a budgeted amount not to exceed $100,000, and this is the fees and the examination fees that we have to pay for our students to be able to participate in the IB program. Any questions about that, board members? Hearing none, I'll go on to purchase C. This is HMH, which is the digital writing program. We heard about this earlier. This is the writable that Ms. Hull went over earlier. The funding total for that is $188,838, and that will be used from 3rd grade to 10th grade. Okay. D is for the University of Oregon PBIS license renewal, and that information is attached. E is for the Heartland School Solutions software, and this is for school nutrition. F is Infinite Campus and K-12 Solution software. This funding purchase is for $37,500. G, H, and I are all for special education. One is called Touch Math Curriculum, and that's a purchase not to exceed $50,000. H is Everway Resource Cognitive Disabilities. That's $35,867. And that's coming out of general fund. And the next one is NCS Persons. This is an assessment materials, again, to be used in the special education department. Hearing no questions, I'm going to move on to number 6, which is purchase exception D. These are all of our renewals. There's only one, and that is for uniforms for the school nutrition. And it is a purchase item not to exceed $100,000. Okay. Number 7, purchase exception E. This has to do with the internet fiber circuits. And this is actually, is this one at Connect Stadium? Let's see. This is a funding source for $28,800. The Department of Enterprise Services is seeking approval to purchase an additional circuit to the existing WAN circuits provided. This is a backup circuit. I apologize. This is when the internet goes out. We need to have a backup circuit. And so this will actually cover us so that when the internet goes out, we can still continue to work. So that is $28,800, I think, well spent. Go ahead, Dr. Lewis.
If I may, you may recall that last year we had a couple of internet outages for various reasons that occurred.
Absolutely.
And this will be give us a secondary line that would help us to switch over and eliminate the downtime. So appreciate Mr. Pleasant and all of his team working to get that secondary system in place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Number 8, purchase exception F. This is an invitation to bid. So we have actually sent those out. And the first 3, I believe, are from school nutrition. And I do have a question about this one, if someone could explain it to me. But A is for $440,064.53, and this is from school nutrition to purchase chicken. But it does say Carrollton City Schools approved board agenda. And there's some kind of piggyback program, and so I wanted someone to explain that to me. And so it's 3 different items, and they are all going through the Carrollton City School Board first. So I just wanted to know what that was about. Okay. Dr. Anderson.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Travis Anderson, Chief Operations Officer. So that is very similar to doing a state-approved contract. Once another school district has already gone through the purchasing process, we're allowed to use that purchasing contract to have those same deals.
Okay, to have the same deals.
Have the same deals.
Okay, so that's why it's called the piggyback program.
Exactly.
Okay, very good. Learn something new every day. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So A, B, and C are all participating in that piggyback program. Correct? Yes. All right, thank you. All right, any questions? Any further questions? All right, thank you, Dr. Anderson. D, Chatham Police Vehicle Emergency Equipment. This is a funding from the E-Splosh for $65,794 to equip our police cars. And E is Net Planner. This is a network cabling for Connect Stadium. Okay. Any questions about those? All right, moving on to number 9, exception G. These are our professional services. One is for academic staffing for speech pathologist. This is for an additional $120,000, board members. So that brings our total to $658,235.70 for speech pathology. Any questions? Did you have a question? Okay. All right. Purchase exception B. This is for nursing services. And this is an additional $685,000, and that is a not-to-exceed number that will bring our expenditure for nursing services for 2026 to $869,857. One-on-one services, and I have asked for a breakdown from finance. They're going to send us a breakdown of which schools are receiving those services. Okay. Exception C, Britt David Magnet School. This is for an after-school program for Fab Arts Incorporated as a part of the after-school program at Britt David Elementary. They're asking for $24,000, not to exceed $24,000. And D is for the Columbus Space Science Center. This is so that our students can go to the Science Center and on field trips, and that funding is not to exceed $65,000. Any questions about that, board members? The last one is a sole source. Item 10 is fuel inventory. And number 11 are our donations. And we want to thank all of the citizens for realizing that schools can't do it alone. We received almost $8,000 in donations to our schools over the last month. So thank you so much for that. And that concludes the Finance Committee, and I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Buckner.
All right, I let one thing pass me about the Hardaway and the middle school in Clubview.
Which item?
I can't remember. It's just the fees. I just want to know. It was talking about fees for those particular programs. Do kids have to pay a fee when they take that test? Janice? Or whomever?
The IB exams?
Okay, so kids don't have to pay. Okay, I didn't know whether the fee was for the program and then kids had to pay, but. Both of them are included in the item number. It tells you the fee for the IB program.
Picture.
So in that one item, it tells you that it pays for the fees for the IB program as well as the assessments for those students that are in the IB program.
Okay, good
Yeah.
deal. Do we pay for the AP classes?
2.
Huh? We pay for what now? Up to 2. One,
2
student
AP
can have-
exams, you mean?
Generally speaking, Christine, no, we pay for 2 exams and the state does away with
The AP exams, do we?
But
So
the kids don't have to pay. Okay.
So in the past, the kids were paying based on a fee reductions for the AP exams. Okay. Okay, so what you're saying is important. Somebody may want to hear it, so if you would come to the microphone. When the state makes its determination based on what it's going to pay for, are we, MCSD, paying for those exams as we do the IB exam?
We are not. So we do honor all the fee reductions. So if they're, whatever their personal financial situation, they have to apply for that fee reduction from the College Board. So the College Board will honor whatever the state of Georgia decides to do in terms of paying for free exams. So we haven't gotten that information yet. As soon as we get that information, we'll know if the state is going to compensate for an exam in what area, and then we can make determinations based on that.
Ms. Butler? Ms. Butler?
IB is paid directly from our budget.
Correct.
And the So when we do the IB, when they get the IB diploma and when they take those exams, they take one in how many subjects? 4?
It depends on what their pathways are. So again, it's if they're a college prep, a career prep student, a diploma student, depends on which areas they're taking those exams.
I'm talking about that real hard, I'm talking about the academic one. The one that compares to the whole nation and all over, the real hard test that when you go to college, usually you have 2 years of college behind you. So we pay for that for those people too.
We have the IB exams built into our budget. It's a much smaller number of students.
Yeah, it's smaller.
Right? And it's determined based on what that student is taking those exams in, but we work with the Research Assessment Accountability Department to determine what those students need, and we build in enough of our budget that we pay out of our funds for the IB exams. We do not do the AP exams the same way.
Okay, that's what I was just wondering when I didn't know that we paid for those, and then I just thought about the other ones that the other kids take. Let's say that someone could not afford to take the test. What will happen at one of these schools that have?
So a lot of times the students themselves will make, and their families will make those decisions as a family as to which exams they will take or will not take based on many factors. It could be preparedness for the exam. It could be that they do or do not need it for college credit. There's a lot of factors that go into determining which exams they'll sit for. Of course, we encourage them that if they're in an AP class, we'd really like for them to sit for an exam. And we do let schools know if they have students in need and they do need assistance with paying for those exams to let us know what those barriers are so that we can help.
That's what I was getting to, because we may have some super smart kids who can't, who won't take the test because they can't afford to. All kids that's taking those tests, they are not, some of them just may not have the money. I don't know who has money, who doesn't. But that's the only thing I was just saying in certain situations, do we pay for them or figure out how to pay?
We've had those situations come up every year, and we handle that on a case-by-case basis, dealing with the school and the family to make those determinations. And we do build in some extra for that. A lot of times when the state lets us know what they're going to do, then it helps us better inform where we need to push in and where we need to provide some assistance. Any other questions?
Are we measured in any kind of way based on, we have all of these students taking these AP classes and probably very few of them are taking the AP exam. Are we measured any way on offering and these kids taking and passing the classes but not testing?
So we are rewarded for students who do take the exam, even if they score a 1 or a 2, that they've sat for that exam, which in and of itself is rigorous. When those lists come out every year for AP honor schools or AP schools of distinction, those are calibrated based on exam participation or even just course participation. So there's many ways that the College Board honors us and rewards us as a district and the school and those students. There's designations, but there's no metric tied to whether or not a student actually sits for the exam as opposed to sitting in the course. Of course, we encourage it from our end, for every child to aspire to sit for that exam, because that's the point of being able to be in that course and showing what they can do and what they know, and then earning that credit based on that. And it's really changed with the post-secondary system now. They may be sitting in an AP class, but they don't actually need that for college credit. They may be getting that in dual enrollment, and we have a high number of dual enrollment students that choose to do the dual enrollment course instead of the AP course. So it really is not detrimental for any of our students to sit in an AP course, do well in that course, and then not sit for the exam, even though we would like for them to. So we try to remove as many barriers as we can.
And I was talking about the district, but you did answer that. So it's beneficial for us to offer the course. And
Correct.
the students to take the course, rather, successfully. And it's, and then it's, the more who take the exam, the better it is for us
Correct.
being acknowledged for that distinction. Okay.
Correct.
Got it.
Yep.
All right. Ms. Frey.
If I could just, and I let this one get by without saying anything. On 5F, the Infinite Campus, it talks about purchasing a new software to help with registration. I know, having just gone through registration and verification, any description on how that might streamline the process might be helpful for those watching.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am. We're currently using that software. That's what has allowed us to go paperless, largely paperless. We still have some forms that have to be filled out manually, but we've had this for a little while now. That's what our OLR is run from, the online registration.
So we won't get rid of the papers?
Ideally, we're going to get rid of the papers. There's some things that...
Hit your mic.
I'm sorry, I heard that a lot. It's, I filled it out online, answered the questions, and then I got to the school and had to fill out the same paper and answer the same questions.
So, yeah, so certain
Probably
schools...
elementary. Is it elementary that we see that?
So certain schools are asking for the paper documents, but we really shouldn't need to fill anything out that you've completed already.
Thank you.
I have 3 boys that we had 4, but I've done it many years, so I know how arduous it can be.
Well, I must say, I as a parent, really like the online registration. And I really would like for, and y'all, you did a great job, but if we can just maybe push it down to the school level as we continue to do what we do district-wide about making the appearance with all the media and social media, encouraging the online registration, but if the schools start pushing it out in May to go ahead and get that done so that schools can go ahead and know who's assigned to their building and be prepared to, to do all of the things that are important, because it's still astonishing to me that parents have not done the online registration. That's just astonishing to me, and they do. The schools are set up for them to come in and use the computer at school with someone assisting them, and that was part of the reason why I say I don't know what closing out a school looks like, but if there was a way for the schools to really start kind of working on that at the end before everybody takes off. I know we have at the end, we have these, if you hit your mic, you want to talk, that we have these planning for the next school year. That would be a great addition to the planning.
We're much farther ahead now than we ever have been in terms of the number of online registrations that we have. I talked to Dr. Forte, and he told me we're well beyond where we normally are. We partnered with Kimberly Wright and Communications to do a big push. Of course, that push came later.
Yeah.
So, but we did see some fruit from that. So our aim is to start that process earlier with doing the saturation and things that we did with her, which seemed to prove successful in terms of getting more folks in. But you're right, there's a bottleneck when the year starts from folks who, wait to the last minute, and then they're very frustrated. So we would like to see them do that much earlier.
I heard a school message that was very convincing that, you can show up day one for school and not have registered. You won't be in class. You're going to be waiting over there in the media center till after we get the school day started for everyone who has registered their kids and verified their students. And that seemed to have created a long line of people trying to get their assistance that they needed to get their students registered. But I think starting in May with drowning them out, hopefully that will help.
Actually, we started in March this past year.
I know, but I'm talking about with the messaging, with the pushing it down is what I'm talking about. They've started in March and April in previous years.
Well, and how this affects everybody, we'll talk about this at some point, but if you don't enroll and you need bus transportation, that pushes you out 2 to 3 weeks because we've got to serve the ones who we've got registration on all completed.
That's only fair.
So, I mean, yeah, exactly. So it does.
That's only fair.
Exacerbate the frustration when people can't get bus transportation, but if you wait till when school starts, that's what we're faced with.
And of course, I would also like to encourage our friendly helpers. For those people who cannot or who will need help, I would encourage friendly helpers, people who
Are you
see-
saying friendly helpers?
Yeah, you
Okay.
said they can go to the school. Sometimes people are busy, sometimes
No,
it
no,
seem-
no, no.
It sometimes seems like
Yes,
they're
I-
put off by that.
Yes, I get what you're saying, but what I'm talking about, the school, they are set up specifically for that.
Yeah.
That's what they're focused on. That is the effort that they're making to provide that service. Because if you are, the school officials are very familiar with how to operate the program, and they can go in and help them, assist them along, because it's real simple. It's
Yeah.
really easy, and they can help the parents or the guardians by doing it for them at the school.
Well, that's good if they do that. Now, sometimes we say we do that, but it's good if we do that. Because see, a lot of students have grandparents who are raising them. And we talk about something happening in actuality as opposed to something that we say is happening. And
Well,
what
I
I'm
think,
saying is,
I'm just going to venture out to say that because the numbers were less this year than it's ever been, that has had some impact.
That's
And-
good.
Yeah, and
I'm
that
not
they're
opposed to that.
taking advantage of coming to the school and down here to the MPEC, am I correct? They can come here also and get that
every
assistance.
time I walk, those people are fussing. If you walk in here, they're fussing about something.
They're
but
fussing
something's
about
not
having to
happening.
wait.
Right. Yeah, they have
No,
to wait because they
they're-
don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
And
no,
so
what I'm
everybody's
saying is
frustrated.
they're fussing about having to wait to get any kind of, and it may not necessarily be online registration, which that's something that they could probably work on, what they're fussing about down here.
My whole
But-
point is just make sure that
You
we
have
have
friendly
somebody to help,
helpers.
friendly help, that's it.
Okay. Friendly helpers.
Smiling faces, ready to assist. Dr. Lewis, would you let us know how the first week went as far as
He's waiting his turn.
buses, and did we
I
have
do have
any
one
issues?
question.
Yeah, we got
and-
one more question, then he's gonna close it out like he normally does.
And things of that nature. Registration, like an overhaul, but I'll let.
My question is on, it's off topic, it's on exception G, professional services. This is an HR-related question. When we hire a new teacher or a new staff member, we have a certain list that
Which
they
number,
must-
G?
All of them. I'm just asking, when we have people who are professional services that interact with students, do they do the background check, the drug screen? Do they have all of that, and we have record of all of that has happened? When we hire a teacher, they have to be background checked, they have to have drug screening, they have to have all of that. I was just making sure all of our professional services that interact with children have the same protocol.
100%. Yes, in most cases, they don't come through us. What we have is that there's an agreement that you have with the professional services, and they have to meet those. However, if there's a gap, we will fill the gap, because we will never put anybody in front of our kids who has an appropriate background check that comes back.
And if it comes back that the company didn't do it, that's in breach of contract, so we can.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You ready, sir? Yeah, all minds are clear. All right, now we'll hear from the superintendent.
Okay, you've already heard that we've had more online registrations that completed than we've ever had in the past. And again, kudos to Ms. Wright and to everybody in student services who made that happen. Dr. Forte, your team, appreciate that very much. I wanted to share with you about our vacancies. If you want to share about our vacancy report. That too, in general, our staffing across the district has been the best since before the pandemic in terms of teachers, in terms of bus drivers, culinary, and so on across the board. Doesn't mean we are perfect. It doesn't mean we don't have any vacancies, but it's been the best we've had since before the pandemic, so that's been encouraging.
You just said it.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm very excited. There's been a lot of activity, there's been a lot of interest, a lot of grassroots. But I think we have the right strategy in place, and it hasn't changed. It's ever evolving, so we're still trying some new things to see what happens. But the vacancies are low, especially compared to any other larger district. But we're definitely at the pre-pandemic numbers, and that's a great win.
And I don't know if Dr. Anderson's here, but I can brief him. You want me to brief what you sent me? Okay. Dr. Anderson's been out in the field this afternoon covering, so anyway. But we had over 500 work orders completed over the summer, getting ready for preparation since the start of school and moving furniture and that kind of thing around, just getting classrooms set up. We served 35,562 breakfasts last week, 87,822 lunches last week. We have 130 traditional bus routes, 53 sped routes, and we have 1,025 new transportation requests received just during the first week. 1,025 new transportation requests received during the first week. So that covers most of the plant services and operations. Overall, I have visited all 52 schools, and I'm pleased to say that all of them are excited. I've talked to all the principals. They reiterated the fact they felt good about their staffing, the people they've hired. I want to give kudos to our facilities department. They have worked tirelessly throughout the summer. Many of the schools were repainted this summer, so when you walk through, you see a brand new, fresh look in the schools. The security vestibules that were slated to be up and running have all been completed, or most of them are just right at the finish of completion. So all our projects, we're pleased with that. You've heard about what we're trying to do instructionally in all of our schools with the training, with the Empower that we had just before school started. So I feel really good about this year. I feel like with all the things we've talked about here, we're going to have one of the best years ahead of us we've had in several years since the pandemic in light of instruction and results. Just be patient with us, and if we can get kids in school, I want to just keep harping on that because it's important for us to get those kids in school. But I feel really good about what we're doing with the Rollins work. I've talked to several teachers who are excited about the year and the resources we have in place. To your point, content specialists have been going through and doing a detailed analysis of each school, where they are, looking at how well they implemented some of the curriculum, like our blueprints and some of our other resources with Fidelity. And where that's happened, we've seen good results. Where it did not happen as much, maybe not as much. So we know that it does work when people follow the plan. And so that's where we're talking about monitoring more closely going forward to make sure that we have all those resources in use that you all have graciously paid for. So we want to make sure, well, I shouldn't say you approved, citizens paid for. But I feel really good about the year. Like I said, in talking with the teachers, the administrators, and visiting schools, they're excited for the new year. I've talked to several students. They too are excited to be back. So I think we're going to have a great year. But of course, it's going to take all of us. And I just want to say once again, whether it's attendance or instruction, I know one thing about Columbus, what I've witnessed and what I've experienced personally and professionally, when we decide to do something, it gets done. So it's going to take all of us doing it together, and I feel confident we will accomplish that this year, and we'll see great growth. So look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. With that, this meeting, Ms. Tillery?
I had a question about I know we have a ton of new hires, and Dr. Lewis and I have talked about it. Some of the new teachers had contacted me, and with them, I've reassured them and told them we were right on track for everything, but they were just wondering when some of the final documentation they would get it, because everybody's just nervous. And so they just want the final,
For what?
So the contract process is, if you look across the state of Georgia, it happens. You actually have a letter, a conditional hire letter that says where you work, who you're going to work for, what you're going to do, your title, what you make, and it's a conditional hire until you meet all your prerequisites. Then as you put the information into the system for it's 600 people you're hiring, and about 300 of them are teachers. and they come in the order they come, and they're processed in the order that they come, and it literally takes 15, if everything was ideal, it takes 15 days to get everything in the system for each individual. So there are ways in which we can try to do some automatic things. Our capabilities aren't there, so we're trying to find some ways around trying to see if we can speed it up even more. And we as a cabinet are getting together to kind of strategically look at that, getting ready for the first day kind of thing. And that's a big one. But what we don't want is for Paige to say don't start, because it impacts the employee negatively. If they're not here, they don't get credit for a full year. If they don't show up on the first day of school, it impacts their benefits if they don't show up on the first day of school. We do not want to negatively impact
I need some
our
clarity.
teachers. Yes.
So they have conditional letters and not showing up first day of school?
No, they are, but Paige is, the word is that Paige is telling them, if they don't have a contract, don't come to school. We have streamlined. There's still issues we're still working through because
My daughter is a first-year teacher. There's my oldest daughter, and in another district that will remain nameless, they told her she could expect her contract September 15th. And it's a much smaller district, so you can.
You have something else?
No, I did not.
Any-
Did you have, is that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because I think a lot of people were nervous with all of the budget cuts, that they were concerned that maybe you were holding back because.
Good news.
Well, yeah, they were just concerned because of buying houses or rental,
Right.
they felt insecure, and so I've been.
That's what that letter is
Right.
for.
Yeah.
But the other thing that we're doing as well is we're being very transparent. They not only get that conversation during orientation, they get it at the new employee extravaganza, and they've been given a timeline twice. So we want to stay in front of it, but I do understand we are not saying that there aren't any concerns, because you want everything, packed and orderly. And we are doing the absolute best that we can, and we're trying to find other ways to streamline as best we can.
And I've relayed the information, but I just think sometimes when it's said publicly that it's heard a little better.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good deal. Okay, this meeting is over. We could wave goodbye. Good night, everybody.
We've walked these halls with heads held high, dreams like rockets touching the sky, books in hand, fire in our soul. This is the place where we ignite every heart, every light. Muscogee County, this is our year, loud and proud, let the world hear. We'll rise, we'll shine, we'll make it clear. Muscogee County, this is our year. From the classroom to the field we play, every step is paving the way. The future's calling, we're on our mark. We are the roots, the wings, the flame. Every victory calls our name. No mountain too high, no road too far. Muscogee County, this is our year. Loud and proud, let the world hear. We'll rise, we'll shine, we'll make it clear. Muscogee